Fire has long been my favorite elemental force used in media, and so naturally, fire levels are my favorite theme of levels in video games. Also, given the abundance of fire levels in video games, a standard top 10 won't cut it, so I thought I'd extend it to a top 15.
And seeing as though it is currently Levels Month on my channel, I thought I'd join in on the party. Statistically, the hottest party in the Countdown community.
That's right, levels, stages, and areas are all acceptable for this list. The only rules are, one game per franchise, only from games we've played, and the level can have other themes other than just fire or volcanic. But the level will be ranked on how well it plays out the fire theme.
So without further ado, let's heat up and bring the boil.
Are these puns going to be a consistent thing?
Let's just say I'm just warming up. Oogabooga is your typical caveman level with all your definitely historically accurate hazards intact. Volcanoes and dinosaurs. If the Flintstones has taught me anything, it's that cavemen were constantly under attack by volcanoes and dinosaurs.
So while in Conker's Bad Fur Day, there may be slightly more prominent aspects in the surrounding fire, like the nightclub, the aforementioned dinosaurs, and the, Weasel Mafia. The fire stands out just enough to warrant a place on the list.
After entering the area by convincing the guards that you're an elephant, do we mention this game was weird? You enter the Moon Oogabooga area where you meet the Oogas, a bunch of caveman people. You then trek through a thin pathway in a volcano to hatch the dinosaur egg and then guide the baby dinosaur back through the volcano, eating all the Oogas as he goes to sacrifice the baby dino as an offering to the giant dinosaur head god. The head opens and you traverse into and through the dinosaur to reach the nightclub where you piss on rock people to roll them around. So far, so Conker's Bad Fur Day. The last chapter had you throwing bog roller at opera-singing turd monster. Literally anything goes at this point.
But none of that is particularly special in regards to how the fire is used. Lava is on some floors as a hazard, and to get some variety in the color palette. But what really puts this stage on the list is the epic lava hoverboard quest of the Grace of Doom. Some of the Oogas steal all of Conker's cash, so to win it back, he has to beat them in a lava hoverboard race and smack them around the head with a frying pan to grab back your cash. Think of Sonic Riders, except in a good game.
Wait, are we in, like, Godfather time period or, like, Star Wars period? Because before I thought we were in Ice Age era. I am so confused.
For one-time only minigame, the hoverboard segment actually controls really well. The music is pretty solid, and the environment is very detailed and good to look at. Not to mention, hitting the Oogas with your frying pan? So satisfying.
Oogabooga may be on the list primarily for the visual flair of the lava, but the way it's used in the platforming and the end hoverboard race is also worth mention. Oogabooga isn't the most sensible level of anything, but weirdly the fire ties much of it together as a common theme throughout. That and the dinosaurs. Gosh, cavemen sure had it rough. I'll forgive you if you never considered anything much from the SpongeBob SquarePants line of games. I mean, they're licensed games of kids' TV shows, and we all know how well they go. Ah ha 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 ha. But you know what? They're actually pretty good. Not all of them, but I can think of at least 3 excellent 3D platformers bearing the SpongeBob name.
Even more surprisingly, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, the game, try saying that 3 times fast, was pretty good too. And if you're saying right now, but how can there be a fire level in a game from a film that's set entirely underwater? Just remember the source material, and any sort of rationale will slowly float away.
Now That We're Men is a level similar to Oogabooga in its theming and design. Lava is once again used mainly for atmosphere and graphical mood. The level is set at the time in the movie where the song Now That We're Men is sung, where SpongeBob and Patrick are in a deep dark cave in the bottom of the sea that's filled with monsters. So the level sees you platform around a deep dark cave and interact with various monsters. Can't say that it's straying too far from the source material.
The lava blends with the monsters and the darkness well to create a very moody and undeniably many other feelings in this SpongeBob game. It's not that the platforming is bad. I for one happen to enjoy flinging myself across giant 3D environments and running on snake monsters across lava fields. But it's very easy to forget about it when you have this amount of creepy tension with this music playing in the background. What is this, Silent Hill?
Now That We're Men is a lesson in why not to trust assumptions. A level based off an animated song of a film adaptation of a kids' TV show may not seem like it would be able to effectively use lava as a way of conveying fear and dread perfectly in conjunction with its music and visual design that goes with the all-round incredibly put together level, but you know what they say about assumptions? It's got the word ass in it. I don't know. Let's go on to the next segment.
The games in the Pokemon main series don't have all too interesting levels or areas, so to look for the best of Pokemon, we need to delve into the spin-off titles. Let's try Pokemon Snap.
You may be surprised that the very basic and short volcano level from Pokemon Snap has beaten every other volcano in all other Pokemon games, but there's a very simple reason for that. They were just 2D hallways, and this is an entire world.
One of the greatest aspects, actually probably the only cool aspect about Pokemon Snap, was how instead of just being a couple of battle sprites, you could see the Pokemon in their world, strutting around doing their Pokemon business. In 3D!
Volcano was also one of the game's better levels for how naturally the monsters themselves seem to fit into the environment, those monsters being all Fire-type Pokemon, and a Magikarp for some reason.
There isn't, however, the greatest variety of Pokemon. In fact, it has the least amount of species in any Pokemon Snap level, which explains the level's low position on the list. I get that there wasn't a lot to work with in terms of fire Pokemon in Gen 1, but they could have at least thrown in a Ninetales or a Koffing or a Rhyhorn or something. It does teach us a fair deal about the Pokemon universe, though, which is good. Like how you could train your Charmeleon to level 36 for to evolve into Charizard. Or you could just push it into a pool of lava.
And it also teaches us that Magmars are assholes. So don't put one on your team or I'll start singing Miley Cyrus or something, I don't know. But what I do know is that the Pokemon Island Volcano lets you see all your favourite Gen 1 Fire Pokemon roaming around in a fully 3D environment. And that's why it's great. Also, Nintendo, if you're listening, I mean, they're probably listening, right? The Wii U, Pokemon Snap 2, make it happen.
Among all of Wario Land 4's wacky and crazy levels, a stage that is just a volcano may seem a little boring, but inside its relatively bland exterior lies a few interesting gimmicks and one very neat concept and one idea that makes the whole thing special.
In Fiery Caverns, you go through a volcano, collect a bunch of stuff, listen to some funky-ass beats, and then leave. You know, just like all the other Wario Land levels. But unlike the other Wario Land levels, the difficulty here comes from the obstacles and not necessarily the exploration or collecting stuff, because that is actually pretty straightforward, making this one of the game's hardest stages.
The lava on the ground bursts up routinely, which can be tough to avoid given how cramped the level's designed, and the monkeys will repeatedly throw boulders at you. Seriously, they're relentless.
But it wouldn't be a Wario Land level if it didn't have some crazy idea behind it, and it all comes into play when Wario steps on the frog switch. After that, the whole level turns to a more icy theme, which doesn't tie into the topic of this countdown, so we won't talk about it.
The volcano and the lava within it freezes and...
No! Don't talk about it!
Okay. In all seriousness, the half of the level after pressing the switch where you make it back to the portal is actually the reason the level didn't crack the top 10 of the list. The icy remains of the volcano after you freeze it and being able to see all the areas in a completely new light because the lava spires have all formed icy platforms is by far the best part of the level. And because they don't involve fire in any way, shape, or form, it means that all we're left to talk about is the first half of the level, which is less interesting.
Even still, the fire part of Fiery Caverns is great enough to warrant a space on this list. The lava puts up a good challenge, the background and atmosphere is surprisingly solid, and the whole level has enough fun to stand tall against some of gaming's hottest.
RPGs, especially older ones, often struggle to make their locations stand out. It makes sense as most of the focus tends to be on the battle mechanics and story, but there's one exception for this list: Earthbound with the Fire Spring.
Earthbound's imposing mood is taken to a whole new level, given that this is the final Your Sanctuary location, and this is near the end of the game. With the eerie, unsettling theme music, Lava Springs, playing in your ears, and the glaring contrast between the dark and the molten rock make a feast for the senses.
This heavily contrasts with the themes and tone of the rest of the game up to this point. Up to now, it has mostly been happy and cheerful, and it makes the slight creepiness of this place, and its enemies, much more disturbing. It's not the most creepy part of the game, we haven't gotten to that part yet. Next to crazy robot bodies, intestine pathways, satanic, I'm tripping balls man, the Fire Spring does seem comparatively tame. Unless it is following the fetus theme.
Don't even think about it. It's very short and not at all varied, but it lasts just long enough to make a deep enough impression. If the springs were bigger and with more areas, the level could have been much higher. It's structured in a triangle shape to give the impression of scaling a volcano as you fight your way through various baddies up to the boss and the Your Sanctuary itself.
Enemies found in the spring, that on the overworld all look like moving fires, don't ask, it's Earthbound, include ghosts, nerds on fire, purple nerds on fire, and the soul-consuming flames.
Just don't ask, it's Earthbound.
The guardian of the sanctuary is the Carbon Dog, who when he has taken enough beating turns into the Diamond Dog.
That is actually pretty clever. Overall, the Fire Springs are a fun romp and a thoroughly memorable moment in a game full of thoroughly memorable moments. Eeriness and darkness blends with a fuzzy pickle's worth of typical Earthbound weirdness.
Actually make that too. What even is a fuzzy pickle?
If this list was ranked on how hot each level was, then the next entry would be an instant #1, because Solar sees you fly across the surface of a star. Word in the business goes, massive expanses of plasma, pretty fucking hot.
Those rumors turn out to be correct, as during the entire level, the R-Rings constantly take damage from the burning magma below. Actually, I'm pretty impressed Slippy's craftsmanship allows us to fly this close to a star's surface at all. It almost allows us to forgive him for that time we had to save him when he crash-landed on Titania. Almost.
Technically, this is one of the simplest Star Fox levels, and it's more about survival than anything. There aren't many enemies, and until you reach the boss, you won't be shooting at much else but boulders. But with all the streams of lava spraying at you and the giant waves of magma constantly trying to make a roast rodent surprise, it certainly can't be called easy.
The boss, however, is quite pathetic and dumb. Just shoot at it constantly and he'll die.
That's not very nice. I'm sure if someone started shooting at you constantly, you'd die.
I'm sure if 4 fighter jets started shooting at me, I'd try to think of a better strategy than just standing there and shooting at tiny slow-moving rocks.
Touché.
Neither the boss fight or the level as a whole are that complex or sophisticated, but just do the math. Waging a war above the surface of a star plus Star Fox equals pretty cool stuff.
It can't be that cool, we are talking about a star here.
Okay, fine. A war above a star plus Star Fox equals pretty hot stuff. Now that just sounds...
What my verbally impaired cohort is trying to say is that a level doesn't need to be deep or complex for it to take a place on this list. It just needs to have enough awesome assets for the level to be a fun time in combination with the fire gimmicks. Solar has a decent boss battle, fairly smooth visuals, though looking much better on the 3DS port, and is easily unique enough to make it incredibly memorable.
Oh, and all that fire and such helps too.
Crisis City from Sonic 06 definitely had a lot of good ideas going for it, from the design to the themes to the set pieces. However, one aspect it does suffer from is the small problem of being released in
Sonic Generations.
Oh man, that's much better. This being the Generations version we're discussing, the setting isn't exactly explained within the game, but it's all still there, and it's still just as brilliant. The destroyed skyscrapers, the dust tornadoes, and all the burning from the power of Iblis all look fantastic and make a very unique level. Especially since though most of the levels on this list are all bloody volcanoes. All this is then paired with the best music of Sonic Generations. I'm not kidding, both the classic and modern versions of Crisis City theme are amazing, one for its upbeat techno feel, and the other for its depressing, destructive feel.
The Generation remake of Crisis City kept what made the original great by, being in a game that didn't suck. Because the concept behind Crisis City was one of 06's best ideas. It was just the execution that was, shall we say, not the best. The classic Sonic version of the level is very platform heavy and sees you make your way through the building and through the debris inside the tornado itself, Sonic Adventure style. The modern Sonic version of the level sees you run on the rooftops of the skyscrapers and across various roads and such. It's a lot more fast-paced because modern Sonic is just like that. My bet is that he swallowed the bomb from Speed. Poor bastard. Anyhow, the way the two levels complement each other is pretty clever, with them both showing different sides to the ruined city they both traverse. One problem I do have with the classic stage is that it's quite short and the stage ends rather... Oh, you son of a...
Actually, I was just about to compliment the lengths of both levels. They both last long enough to show off all the themes of the level, as well as a decent amount of the theme of the level, before they start to drag on and become boring. Crisis City stands out most of all because of its ingenious setting, and while the Sonic Generations version doesn't flesh it out much, with Generations' better graphics, music, control, level design, physics, and polish, I don't think it's hard to decide which game has the better deal. I don't think either of us needs to at all sing Kid Icarus Uprising's praises. I think the entire internet has done just about enough, but whatever, it's an amazing game, you should go buy it and play it and make YouTube videos about how great it is because it's fucking incredible.
As for us, I think a video explaining how great its fire level, the Wish Seed is, will suffice. The Wish Seed's placement in the game meant it had some pretty big boots to fill, being the first level after the classic bait and switch with the Medusa boss fight. The Wish Seed does a good job of saying, "Don't worry, the second half of the game isn't just going to be as good as the first half, it's going to be even better."
I still think no game has pushed the 3DS's limits quite as much as Kid Icarus Uprising. Fire Emblem Awakening came close, but seriously, just look at this. The glowing, radiant magma, the sparkling caves, the perfectionist detail, and immense variation in the settings within the level. 'Tis beautiful. 'Tis so beautiful.
It's another volcano level. Big surprise, right? Don't worry, we'll give you time to recover from the shock.
Oh my god, that was so forced!
That's probably enough time, but the Wish Seed also uses caves and tunnels to make things more interesting, and many new enemies are introduced, not to mention the, well, obvious addition of lava, to make the level a big step up in difficulty.
After Hades trolls the end credits and replaces Medusa as the main villain, he is finally given the opportunity to have his place in the spotlight, and to say he takes advantage of it would be an understatement. Medusa preferred to stay back and never really address Pit directly when she didn't need to. Hades, on the other hand, is talking to you practically for the entire level. He's manipulative, he's crafty, he's sly, he's such a massive douchebag, but his character is just so entertaining.
It was a simple case of distracted chariot driving. Should have been doing my hair.
He's so evil in such a nonchalant way that you just can't help but love him.
Don't tell me the goddess of light hasn't heard of altruism before.
The Wish Seed also shows off much of Uprising's other excellent humor.
Who's got two thumbs and loves hot springs? Everyone with two thumbs!
Uprising's cheesy, stupid, immature, but inarguably brilliant humor. The Wish Seed stands out as possibly the funniest and prettiest level in a game, full to the brim with funny and pretty levels. Hades gets plenty of screen time, the difficulty gets stepped up, and even the boss fight with the Phoenix is pretty fun, being a blend between the big clumsy bosses and the smaller, more nimble ones. All in all, spectacular level.
Well, that was pretty fun, wasn't it? Click my face for part 2 on my channel. It's gonna be mental, it's gonna have fire, it's gonna have levels, who knows what else. That's pretty much it, actually.
So it appears that you require my services.
I normally don't ask for assistance, but this guy has gotten on my last nerve.
Well, I would love to help, but I need you to... how do I say it? Say it!
Fine. I need your help to take down the Mountie.
Excellent. Alright. In order to take down the Mountie, unlike your pretense, what you need to do is to take him down using the creepiest sort of stories out there. Creepypastas.
What good will that do? He likes creepypastas.
I'm referring to creepypastas that scar the person. It gets under their skin and makes them want to kill themselves.
Like what? Jeff the Killer just cracks him up.
Jeff the Killer isn't even a creepypasta, you may argue. But if you want to, go right ahead. No, I'm referring to this. I will make the arrangements. The funny thing is, this specimen was created by pathetic humans, much like yourself. But for the sake of this, I will keep insults at you at a minimum, if at all, in order for this partnership to work. Like I said, I will make the arrangement. These pathetic humans made this satanic ritual to create that thing. And now, it spawned one of the most infamous creepypastas out there. But, you will get the credit for taking him down.
Excellent. Soon the Mountie will sing his last anthem.